Shayo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. This is The Intent, where authentic conversations take place. My name is Kobe Cornell Boone, and I want to say thank you for taking the time to click on this video and check out my channel. I hope that you stick around. I hope that you find something of value to you for you, your journey, and yourself. And if you do, I just ask that you like, share, subscribe, send this to someone that you know, and most importantly, leave a comment in the comment section below. I know that's quite a few instructions, but that feedback that you leave in the comments allows me to know that I'm continuing to make content that is valuable and useful to the rest of the world. Without further ado, I would like to jump into today's topic, pulling up the trusty laptop here. And this first sticker that I have from Naja Nation should actually give a little bit of today's thing away, and the necklace as well. But I am going to start off by reading this letter from the great company of African Ancestry.com, not to be mistaken with Ancestry.com, which I should do a video on because I actually did that test first. So that genetic test or whatever the case may be, it's pretty popular. It's like one of the largest in the world, and it doesn't give you your specific tribe, but Ancestry.com will provide you with like your cousins. It's great for connecting the dots, medical records, things of that nature. If you really want to directly connect with family members and friends, so yeah, that's a great one to choose. But if you want to find out more about your tribes as well and kind of do both sides, which is what I've done, African Ancestry is the company to do it with. I think they're like well over 15, probably close to 20 years old. So let's get into it. I'm going to read this letter, you guys. So, dear Kobe, it is with great pleasure that I report your Matriclan test results. So there's a Patriclan test, which is your father's DNA that goes back 500, 2,000 years. They're testing the mtDNA on the maternal side. I think the father's DNA is a different name. But on the mother side, maternal lineage, they're testing your mtDNA that doesn't really variate or change for like a whole lot of years. So it's with great pleasure that I report you your Matriclan test result. We have determined that you share maternal genetic ancestry with the Hausa and Yoruba people in Nigeria today. It's lit. I'll tell you why it's lit. We compare parts of your maternal inherited DNA, mtDNA, to that of people from around the world to look for matches. Using the largest set of African mtDNA samples available today, we found identical 99.7% matches for you with the mtDNA of the Hausa and Yoruba people. That means that at some point in the 500 to 2,000 year history of your maternal lineage, mother to mother to mother, there was a Hausa and a Yoruba woman. And the rest of it just breaks down like HVR1 variants, HVR2 variants, HVR3 variants, which in my case there were none, the different haplogroup types, real scientific like work here, you guys. And this is the letter is given to you after you get your test results from Miss Gina Page, who is the president of African Ancestry. And it pretty much comes with a certificate as well that I'll share with you guys that you get, which is just like a scientific like certificate that lets you know like, hey, this is the results of your stuff. So here's a picture. Hopefully adjusting, you guys can see it. So yeah, it just pretty much tells you your history and who you are. So man, what does this mean to me? I would say this is special because I now have my father's side. So I started with my father's side actually. So I started with a Patriot test, and the Patriot test came back Bamaleke people or Bamake people, how it can be pronounced in French, of Cameroon. So that was really dope because one of my close friends actually was born. He's Igbo, but he's actually born in Cameroon. So that was a whole experience that was really dope because you start looking up. As soon as you find these things out, especially as a person with African American, culture. I'm definitely, the way I see it for me is I am an African American by my culture here within the United States. So in most places that I'm in where I'm not the majority or people who look like me aren't the majority, I'm black. They don't really know anything different. But if let's say I'm at a cultural event a festival, I'm at a conference or something like that of that nature, when somebody asks where you from, you gonna tell them exactly where you're from as far as the ethnic group. And in that case, it would be like, well, my dad is Bamaleke, from Cameroon. That's his people, and my mother is Hausa and Yoruba. That's her people. You know what I'm saying? And in that, it's my people because that DNA is shared in me. It's shared in my daughter, my children in the future as well, by the grace of God. So that's kind of like my thing. And I've already been. I went to a HBCU, a historically black college or university. I grew up with a mom who made sure that I went to the African American like cultural events or whatever within the community, and I had an understanding of like black history and what she could gain from friends who went to Africa and brought things back and stuff like that. I grew up with that. I grew up with kente cloth. At church you would have those Sundays where everybody would wear African clothing and stuff. I grew up with those representations around, even though in the deep rural South where I grew up, the coastal plains of North Carolina, um, which some people would argue is not deep rural South, but it's still South in my opinion. In the area I grew up, it was really rural. You didn't see that. Like the only diversity we had where I grew up was like there was one Jamaican family, like in the whole small town I was in of probably less than 5,000 people. So when I got to college and I started meeting, new friends and people from Ghana, people from the Edward tribe, people who were Ashanti, people who were Liberian and things of that nature, I do, I do partially agree with the idea of you have your whole entire life, especially in the Western world, to be a minority. Going to a HBCU gives you an experience where you can say, for once, I'm the majority. Um, so I do partially agree with that statement, but I also agree with like the world is big. And if you have the ability and the capacity to travel, travel. Go to a place where we are the majority. Go to a place where you get to experience different cultures and then see how you're treated or looked at yourself. You know what I'm saying? For better or worse, I have one of my good friends that I reached out to as soon as all my African friends. Like I reached out to immediately after I got the DNA results, and it was just amazing and so welcoming. I'll share this story, and I for part of our um, photo shoots that we did for my daughter before she was born, I wanted to do, a tribal shoot. I wanted to wear authentic like clothing from back home. And I built a relationship with a tailor who happens to be Hausa. And he said, because there's different hats, like there's different tribal wear that's specific to these different ethnic groups, if you will. And I had like a style and look in mind for my agabata, which is like your full three-piece suit that you wear, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do for the hat. And because from my dad's lineage, the and Bamaleke culture, I didn't want to wear like the traditional Baminde hat or Baminde hat or Togu, I think it's called, print for this particular shoot because we knew we wanted to wear a majority white and there's a really colorful hat that I didn't want to do for this particular shoot. And I didn't know my mom's lineage at the time. So I didn't know what to wear. And I remember I have it in my chat. I'm gonna share with you guys. I asked my tailor what should I do, and he was in Nigeria at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, like you look like a northerner, like you look like a Hausa man for real." And I was like, "Really? Okay." Not thinking about it at all. What's the odds, right? Nobody knows. He's like, "You look like a Hausa man, so we're gonna do um this certain hat," and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I'll show it to you guys. So let me pull up this picture here and share with you guys. But anyway, so lo and behold, it's just crazy to me how somebody can look at you, and I'm gonna try to pull this up on the video for today. It's just crazy to me how somebody who is from Nigeria, born and raised, whatever the case may be, can sometimes look at you and say, "Hey, nah, this is what you are." And then I go and do the DNA results, and that's exactly what it is. So this is the hat that he designed for me, and the Hausa people wear like one side of the hat. It's an even hat. the way it's made, but you fold it down, and one side of the hat is higher, and there's a little ball that sits on top. And forgive me if I'm not pronouncing the name right, but this is me wearing the agabata. I'll scroll down a little bit more. Hopefully, you guys can see it. So, yeah, it's just crazy to me that somebody can look at you and say, nah, you might think you this, but this is what you are. And then to go now and start to dive into the history and of the culture of the Hausa people specifically, along with the Yoruba people, which I know a little bit more about the Yoruba people because my wife's uh, paternal lineage goes through Jamaica, excuse me. So just understanding and knowing how many of the Yoruba people were brought to Jamaica, and I can look at her and tell, like her cheeks, her face, the way I can look at her and tell, like you're a Yoruba woman as far as ethnic group goes, at least partially through her father's lineage. Um, but I didn't know as much about the Hausa people from northern Nigeria. So it's just exciting. As far as my identity or how it's changed or whatever the case may be, I wouldn't so much say that at all. I think it's more so I already eat fufu. I already like a kora soup. I already like um, plantains and uh, fish soup. Moi moi. Like this, like I already eat these things, and one of my good friends actually owns a Nigerian restaurant. So it doesn't so much change my identity and how I move and operate already. What it does is maybe reaffirm, if you will, or just gives you a full sense of knowing. You know, when I got the history and the results back from my dad's side about being from Cameroon or Bamileke and looking at my grandfather, my family members, and my aunties and stuff, and I look at them, and I can look at pictures of people and literally, guys, look at Google images, look at people and say, "Dang, that looks just like my aunt such and such," or "Dang, that looks just like my sister," or like, bro, like it that is so dope on that side. But I wasn't able to see as much as that. Like I definitely look like my dad and my grandfather for sure. But some of the features I just couldn't see as much through my father's side with a lot of the other phenotypes. And I think that's the correct word for it. I think the study of like facial bone structures or whatever is specific to ethnic groups is called phenotypes. Somebody correct me in the comment section. I had downloaded something related to it a while back. I have to find it, but I think it's called phenotypes. Siri, what are phenotypes? Genotype, phenotype. A phenotype is observed traits such as height, eye color, blood type. Phenotype is determined by both their genomic makeup, genotype, whatever the case may be. I think this is correct. Not sure. But individuals' observable traits such as height, eye color, and blood type. Yeah, that's correct. So phenotypes. So I looked up that a while back of like face structures or whatever that are pretty consistent within different ethnic groups. It's the reality. It's how we are made up when it comes to genes. So to be able to find out my mother's lineage and to look at people and to feel that same sense of belonging, if you will, of like, okay, somewhere along the lines, and this is maternal, so somewhere along the lines, great grandmother or who knows, whatever, like, yeah, she would have came from this area, you know what I'm saying? Or it's the expectation that she was brought over possibly, to the United States through the slave trade or whatever the case may be through from this land, if you will. So, man, um, heavy stuff. I wanna get more of these videos kind of rapid fire out to you guys. So I'll continue to create more content, and I'll definitely do like a part that focuses on like how I was able to discover different things through ancestry.com as well. Again, I have neither one of these companies are putting bread in my pocket. Like this is I paid for every test I have fully, no discounts, no nothing. Oh no, I did. I think I took advantage of like a 10% off discount that ancestry.com had during the Kwanzaa sale or something like that. But that everybody gets that. My point is, you can use If you are a person of African descent or you believe yourself to be a person of African descent, I highly recommend taking the African Ancestry test for both your maternal and paternal. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it because it gives you a different layer that other tests cannot provide of giving you a specific tribe, just not the region. You know what I'm saying? But I also highly suggest ancestry.com as well. If you so choose, read the disclosures, whatever the case may be, how you feel about your DNA and making sure it's not sold or whatever the case may be. But I suggest that because there's so many cousins that I've been able to connect with on my mama's side, on my father's side as well, but able to like really see where our people have lived for the last 200 years in eastern North Carolina. Like it's so many things that have been revealed through the connectivity that you can do with ancestry.com, which you can do with African Ancestry. Like they have group chats that you can join that's specific, and people do a lot of work there as well in triage. But I would say ancestry.com could be a great tool as well, which I have used that have provided me. I've been able to see the state records on my dad's side for like my one of my great, I think it was like my sixth great grandfather, how his family was pretty much sold, um, was pretty much given with his estate to the grandson, which was like the plantation owner, and actually see my great grandparents' names and great uncles and great aunts' names listed there, and see that documentation. When it's one thing to talk, they try to act like something happened or didn't occur, but when you see the documentation in the city records and you're able to see, the buy and purchase and sell agreements or whatever of people, it it makes things a lot clearer. Movies can depict things or whatever, but when you start to see the facts, like they start to see the paperwork and stuff, it is a different aspect, and that is something if you're interested in finding that type of stuff and retaining it and documenting that, and connecting the dots with other cousins and people of that nature. I think that's a tool in your arsenal that if you really want to do family, not just genealogy but history, while it's still there and not been yet destroyed, if it's out there, that's a great option to do. So I think that's a great point to wrap up this video. Super excited to dive in. I'll do a follow up video on my experiences as a Hausa, Yoruba, Bamaleke man, in the future. But for now, I hope you find this video of value. If so, please like, share, subscribe, send this to someone you know. Um, and until then, man, trust your journey. God bless y'all. Take care.